There's three main things that can kill your performance with vMix, and most people get these wrong. To make sure vMix runs properly on your machine and you don't get the dreaded dropped frames or GPU overload or CPU overload for that matter. The first thing you need to do, check to make sure your performance tab in your settings, make sure your main graphics card is being used. So I've got an older P2000, but for vMix, this card works great and it's got 5 megs graphics memory. That's pretty good. So you're going to want to make sure that that is checked here. The other thing that you need to check with your graphics cards is high performance input mode. If you have a newer NVIDIA card that supports Resizable Bar, and you can check that in your NVIDIA control panel settings, you want to leave high input performance mode off. If you have an older graphics card that doesn't support Resizable Bar, you want to turn this on. Let's go into your NVIDIA control panel here, and I'll put it over on this screen so you can see it. Go down here to System Information, scroll down, and look for Resizable Bar. Now, this is an older card, so I don't have it. It doesn't appear anywhere in this list. That means in my vMix machine here, I want to turn on high input performance mode because that does some things with the memory interface to the card to make it work a little bit better. With Resizable Bar, that's unnecessary and high input performance mode should stay off. So check that setting. I'm going to turn it on. It's going to ask vMix to restart. I'm going to go in here. My high input performance mode is turned on and vMix is humming along nicely at 18% GPU memory. So remember, high input performance mode, if your graphics card supports Resizable Bar, turn it off. If your graphics card is older and doesn't support Resizable Bar, leave it on, but you must have at least 3 gigs of GPU memory. Otherwise, that setting won't do you any good. The second thing that'll impact your vMix performance the most is playback. So if you're loading a bunch of movies, especially if they have an alpha channel into vMix, if you load those as individual inputs, your vMix performance is going to suffer. Let's go over to my screen here. So I have a bunch of movies here. These all have alpha channels. If I just go ahead and drag and drop these in as separate inputs, watch my GPU memory. For every input, it's going to chew up some more GPU memory. Now it jumped up to 34%. I'm not going to be able to add that many more. I may be able to add I have 5 here. If I have much more playback, I'm going to start to suffer here with GPU memory, and that's a big problem. So we're going to close out all these. You really have to be careful of overloading your machine. So what I like to do is I like to use lists. So lists in vMix can save you a ton of resources. So I've got some stuff loaded here. I've got these lower third animations, and watch what happens when I go into this. I'm going to go find my lower thirds, the same 3 that I just used, and I drop these into vMix as separate inputs. My GPU memory jumps from 12 to 22. All right, let's get rid of these now. If I do the same thing with a list, drop them into the list, my GPU memory goes from 12 to 18. And as I change around, my GPU memory holds pretty steady. So what is this doing? Well, when you use a list in vMix, it only loads into GPU memory whatever you have queued in the list. So if you need to save performance, if you have a lot of playback videos, just use a list. It'll save your GPU and it'll save you a lot of resources in the long run. The third thing you can do to improve performance in vMix is related to NDI. Now, NDI is great and vMix handles it really well, but vMix does something that it's not supposed to do. So when you go to add an NDI input, and this is a very, very bad neighbor on the network, you can see this. It shows thumbnails for every NDI input on my network. Now, this is not something that NDI recommends. It's not something in the spec. It's just something vMix does, and it's really bad, especially when you have more than a handful of sources on your network. It hits all those receivers. It hits all those senders with requests for connections really fast. So if you have multiple vMixes and multiple machines, this can already cause trouble on your network. So what you need to do is turn that off and make vMix a good neighbor on your network, and it's really easy to do. Go into your settings, go to options, go to performance, and there's an option right here, show preview thumbnails when browsing NDI sources. Turn that off, leave it off, and never turn it on again. Click OK. It's going to ask you to restart vMix, so we're going to do that. Now, when you go into your vMix and add an NDI source over here, you're just going to get the names and the machines of the sources, and that's what you want. That's all you want. This just grabs it from the NDI discovery mechanisms and makes vMix a very good neighbor on your network. Those are the 3 things you need to do to make vMix perform well on just about any system. If you want to learn how to set up a whole show like the late night show you saw in this demo, go grab my course, vMix Jumpstart. The link is below. It'll walk you through this show, how to set it up from start to finish, a 2-person podcast live show. It's a good way to learn in the context of a show, and I find that the easiest. Go grab vMix Jumpstart. The links are below. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and be sure to watch for more vMix tips.